Welcome to Solutions with Courtney Anderson. I am Courtney Anderson, your host for the show. I'm delighted that you are here with me today. Today we are taking part in our 149th episode of this show. So thank you so much for um, joining us today and allowing us to continue to grow and honestly be more successful in terms of the viability of continuing the show than I ever anticipated. So here we are, show 149. I encourage you to come to CourtneyAnderson.com and take part in all the other content we have available. We have a show page for this show, so you can just come to CourtneyAnderson.com, episode 149. You'll see our full show page, all of our notes, all of our links. You'll see our sponsors that are supporting the show that we strongly encourage you to look and see if there's anything there that would be of service to you. And again, thank you for being part of the show. So today is one of our series of the joyful art of business. And of course, the joyful art of business, as we know, is one of our foundation principles for everything that we do. And the whole idea here is that everything we do professionally, whether it's paid or volunteer, we're just going to call it business. And we bring something uniquely us to all of our endeavors, right? What we do, there's something to it that's our special way of doing it. And so we're going to call that art generically. And the whole idea is that we want to look at our lives and ask ourselves, how do I feel? How do I feel when I do this stuff that we call business? Do I feel really good about myself? Do I feel horrible? When I'm getting ready to go do that thing, am I excited and looking forward to it? Am I ambivalent or am I depressed and, you know, stressed out? We want to make sure that when we look at our ROI or return on our investment, we're not just looking at how much money we make, what prestige we perceive that people have about us, but how do we feel? Is this the right fit for us? And this is something that's really important because we're trying to avoid that horrible outcome where you have somebody that you look at externally and you think, wow, they're so successful. What are the fancy job they have? How much power they have? Maybe how much wealth they have? Maybe they're famous. And then some, you get these really bad outcomes where people self-sabotage, people self-harm. You have people who apparently what we thought on the outside would be enough to make us happy, it must not be because people are miserable and in pain. And so we want to make sure that when we're looking at our lives that we take full responsibility. We should never be in that situation where we feel like we're miserable and then we feel like we shouldn't be miserable because it's, quote, a good job, or other people would, would be delighted to have an opportunity like this. People get in a very self-sabotaging, very negative spiral sometimes. So what we're doing is trying to avoid that. But from the very outset, we're saying, look, part of the return on your investment is how do you feel? And I'm just generically calling that joyful. The idea being that you should feel something positive more often than not. And if you're miserable and you're unhappy, or you're doing something because you think other people want you to do it, or because you think it's what your society or what your culture wants you to do, and you're not happy at all ever, you're miserable, then you're in the wrong place. And so we want to, from the outset, state that this is one of our principles. So we don't ever get in that unhappy place, because all along we're measuring internally and we're asking ourselves, how do I feel? And when it gets to a point where it's more negative than positive and that's sustained, then it's time to start looking at making different choices, right? We're not going to be that person who should have it all, quote unquote, and then internally we're in all this pain and distress. We're going to go out and make sure our individual lives allow us to experience a full range of emotions, and overall, it's right for us. So all of that is to say, what's our show today? What's our episode 149 of Solutions with Courtney Anderson all about specifically? Well, our show specifically today is, where is your idea generation location? Where is your idea generation location? So we're asking you, where is it? The first part, of course, before we figure out where it is, we want to just make sure we clarify, what is it? What is the idea generation location? What is that? I'm not sure. Okay, so if you come to our show notes, of course, our show, CourtneyAnderson.com, episode 149, we've got an individual show page, and then Of course, we have several different parts of our site that show you a list of all of the different shows. So get in there and explore. But on our show page, you'll see I went to our dictionary, our friend, the dictionary. The dictionary is going to give us a couple of ideas to help us frame what does it mean? Idea generation location. It kind of rolls off the tongue, but what is what does it mean? So at our dictionary, we have, and again in our show notes, you can come and see it and link to the resources yourself. Um, Idea, the definition that we're going with, it says from the dictionary, and this is Merriam-Webster, says a thought, plan, or suggestion about what to do, an opinion or belief, or something that you imagine or picture in your mind. So again, it says a thought, plan, or suggestion about what to do. I have to stop for a second and just clarify. We've done shows and programs where people say, oh, I don't know what to do. And we come up over and over again in all of the ideas of applied solutions and frameworks that we work through where people say, well, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? I don't know. How am I supposed to know? What? Okay. That this is part of that solution. How you're supposed to know what to do is you're supposed to sit and create the idea and figure it out. The idea will tell you what to do. I'm arguing, and I argue in our programs through the show, through education programs I deliver, corporate training, speeches I give, in class as a professor, when I'm a lawyer in court or working with a client, and everything I do, I strongly suggest that you take responsibility for your own life and create your own ideas. And again, this strongly relates back to the idea, the whole series of the Joyful Art of Business and that whole foundational concept. You have to make the decision about what you feel. So you have to come up with your own ideas about what to do. You. Now, of course, this flies in the face of this incredible amount of businesses, experts, friends, people you care about, relatives, telling you what they think you should do. And we all get that. We get that, in the media. We get that in our day-to-day lives. We get that from people who care greatly about us and respect and love us. We get it from people who could care less about us or despise us. There's so many messages, right? What are you supposed to do? Well, you have to figure it out. And you have to be able to figure it out within this environment where we are all bombarded with messages about what we should do. And sometimes they're really specific. What you should do based on your gender, what you should do based on your age, what you should do based on your um, ethnic or cultural affiliation or racial identity, what you should do based on your size, what you should do based on all kind of stuff, right? My argument is that there's so many of those messages, and for every message you'll hear, you'll probably go out and find another message that'll tell you the exact opposite. And so you're really not getting good data or information, and that you have to be in charge and responsible of what you want. Now, how do you do that? You have to sit around and have ideas. Okay. That's the first part of what we're talking about, idea generation location. You want to know what to do, you have to go get an idea of what to do. Now, what your ideas are going to be influenced somewhat by all these different messages you've heard in your entire life, right? Externally, within your family unit or culture or society. But my argument is if you're going to have a trajectory of your life that's going to get you to a point where overall, more good than bad, just generic labels, then you're going to have to take responsibility for the ideas about what to do. You need to figure it out. You can't just keep asking everybody else because they're going to tell you what they think. But you have to know. One of the things that I want to also note here, we did a show where we talked about the number of thoughts you have a day, right? Because so many people say to me, well, it's easy for you to say. It's easy for you to say, that I'm supposed to just figure it out, but like, I don't know. Okay. So go back and look through our series. We have got a master list website link through all the shows. And then, of course, you can go through all the different sorting options. But go back to the show where we talked about how many thoughts per day a human has. So this is not a human specific to any region of our geographic location on the planet. It's just us generically as humans, right? All of us. And so according to, it was a University of California laboratory, it's about 70,000 thoughts a day. So 70,000, 70,000. That's a lot of thoughts, I think, relative to numbers and my understanding of numbers. So I'm not saying it's a lot relative to every other entity It exists. I'm just saying that 70,000 of anything is a lot. $70,000 to just count that $1 at a time is a lot. So 70,000 thoughts relative to what, my experience of life is 70,000 thoughts per day is a lot of thoughts. So it's difficult for me to buy an argument that you don't have any idea at all about what to do, because science is telling us, at least this data that I'm utilizing, and there's links to in those show notes on that page. Um, so you can go read it yourself and look at the source, determine if it's somewhat credible in your mind. But let's just say that half that's accurate. Let's say that source I'm giving you, their data's, um, polluted and it's not credible. Maybe it's 35,000 thoughts a day. To me, that's still a reasonable amount of thoughts for you to be able to figure out what you want to do. So whether it's 70,000, 30,000, maybe it's only 7,000. In my mind, there's still room in 7,000 different thoughts a day, some of which, of course, are I'm hungry, my stomach hurts, I have to go to the bathroom, what time is it? But there's still room in there for you to have other ideas about plans and thoughts and suggestions about what you're going to do. So my argument is it's not a capacity issue. That irrespective of the exact pinpoint number of thoughts you have individually per day, that there's enough room in there. It's not like you have 4 thoughts a day and then 3 of them are, my stomach hurts, I have to go to the bathroom, I'm hungry. Well, that only leaves room for 1 thought. Well, no, there's a multitude of opportunities for you to think. So I'm trying to foreclose the argument here that I don't know what to do, I can't figure it out, how am I supposed to know? Because you are thinking stuff. My argument is you might need to, once you get past your basics of, you know, again, I'm sleepy, I'm thirsty, then you need to start making different choices with your other allotted thought space about what you want to do with that time. So I'm trying to argue you have the ability, you have the time, you have the capacity. Now, what are we going to do with it? So the ideas are there, okay? 70,000 or 30,000, but my source says 70,000 that I'm going with for now, or some number near to that we're arguing, is just naturally already occurring. Also, in the dictionary definition, it talks about opinions and beliefs again. So that's how you interpret things, right? What I think, my opinion, what I believe. Based on what? Well, that's up to you again. You decide. The last thing our dictionary definition said, something that you imagine or picture in your mind. So much in business education, and one of the things I do and have done happily is teach business courses at universities. And so mostly and exclusively right now, I only teach graduate students, and I teach in different master's degree programs or other graduate programs, and I teach business and I teach other related issues. And so often in these areas, you get all these issues about buzzwords and what the current excitement is, and it's always about innovation. It's always about thinking outside the box, being creative. And sort of some of that to me, it's so overutilized that it can become a bit of a cliche itself, right? If you've heard think outside the box, 50,000 times, are you really doing it when it's sort of so mundane at that point? I don't know, but my point is simply this: we do accept that we understand at even a basic level that somebody somewhere has got to come up with an idea. Now, it could be an idea about a product or service. It could be an idea about our existing product or service, how to market it differently, right? There's a whole field about that. For those who are entrepreneurs and small business owners, which is another joy of my life, has been being able to create out of literally my imagination, something I lay or sit and think in my head, a real life business that makes real life money. To me, there's such a rush in that, and I love it. So, of course, I also teach those areas: entrepreneurship, things of that nature, leadership. We know we need ideas. So the question is, where do they come from? Well, they come from you. Now, there's a lot of logistics and day-to-day um, oversight that has to be done with any organization, checks and balances, just to make sure things are functioning, right? So, in addition to that, you also have to have some time or some entity that has the ability to sit and create ideas. If every single moment of my waking day is filled with task, I have to do this, I have to carry this there, I have to lift this there, I have to drive this there, I have to do. If you have all these tasks and it just fills up all your time, then where do you have the time to sit around and be imagining things and picturing things in your mind? You have to have the time for it. Now, my argument earlier is that you already have the thoughts, but you also have a limited amount of hours every day that you're going to be awake and conscious, and within that time, you're going to need to do your sort of basic human sustaining things, right? We have to eat, we have to hydrate, we have to use the restroom, we have to have hygiene. This stuff eats into our time. So then if you fill all of the rest of your day with, all these other tasks, it is going to foreclose at some point the ability for you to have the ability to just sit and imagine and think. Because when you're sitting or think or standing or walking or running or however you're doing it, but when you're just thinking, it looks like from the outside you're not doing stuff, right? Because you're not, carrying things or building things or driving things. You're in your own head. So you have to have the ability to do that, and I'm going to argue do it without what they call multitasking, which is this sort of, I believe, at some level, quite a fallacy where you're going to be able to, I'm simultaneously imagining and picturing things in my mind at the same time, I'm driving a bus and I'm making a delivery for my client. I mean, it's just, there's only, there's a lot of research into that, and we have other programs where we go into it more deeply, but the ability to focus on something is important. Now, there's a debate about how much you need to focus on it, how quickly you can switch between focusing on different things, but you do need to have some ability to focus. And we know you need to have ideas. And again, I say it's such a cliche, at this point, everybody, innovation, what's going to be the new, disruptive idea or thought or process that comes along? We all know you need to have somebody thinking up a new way, a new product, a new service, a new way to communicate your existing product or service. We all know that. Well, then how do you fit into that? What if you're saying to yourself, well, I'm not in marketing. What do I care? Okay. Well, my argument is that you are in marketing because you have your own entity, which I generically am calling business, and it's you, your life, you. How much time do you put into your ideas? I made the point that you have ideas, I'm arguing, whether it's some multiples of thousands of ideas or tens of thousands of ideas per day. So that already is happening. But what are you doing with your time? And what are you doing to invest in how important ideas are to your life? Ideas are important to your life. I mentioned just a little bit how people say to me, often in anger and frustration, well, I don't know what to do. How am I supposed to know? Well, the point is you have to know because it's your life. I can't know. I'm not you. I'm not with you 24 hours a day. I don't know what your latent dreams and hopes are. I don't know that. I don't know any of this. You do. You've been with you all along from your earliest consciousness and awareness of you being an entity all the way through now. And you have that whole narrative. What happened when you were 6 years old? What happened when you were 19? You know, I don't. I wasn't there all along. And even if I was with you, let's say I'm your identical twin, I'm still not in your head. You are. This is a beautiful, awesome experience being you. So you have to be the one to sit around and think about what you want and you need and what makes you feel good. We just call it joyful. So the argument for the first part of the definition of idea generation location, right? What is it? Is an idea. We just went over that. The second thing is you have to generate these ideas. So you don't want to get one idea and say to me, hey, Courtney, I had an idea 9 years ago. I'm still working that one idea. Okay, awesome. What I'm saying is you need to have supplemental, new, fresh ideas coming along. You're not just going to have one idea your whole life. That would be kind of limiting. You need to generate new ideas. Now, it might be, again, an existing, like we talked about a few minutes ago with the marketing analogy. Somebody has a business or a service, a product or a service, and they say, well, I don't want to make, we love what we have. We just want to, make it more exciting or reach new people or let new people know about it or have more adventures with it, which is we'll call sales or revenue. So they're just going to come up with a new way to share that message about the existing thing. That may be what you do as a person. You may say to yourself, I like my life in a lot of ways, but it's kind of boring. I'm not excited about anything. I don't feel that anticipation. Okay. So you're not going to change your what you're doing, right? But you just want to find a new way to experience it or share it with the world or do it in new ways, right? Or new places. So you have to generate the new ideas. My point simply is you're not going to say, I don't think credibly, hey, I had one idea, when I was 16 and that's the same idea I have now and I'm 60 and I don't have any other ideas. Okay. Again, just partially because of the sheer number of ideas you have daily and all those years, I find it difficult to believe that there's been no other idea, but you have to take responsibility not just for an idea, right? But for generating new ones. And so generation, definition in the show notes, of course, CourtneyAnderson.com, and you come to our show page. Specifically, we've got our links. says generation is the process, part 2b, because the word has multiple definitions, but part 2b from our source, which is our Merriam-Webster, with our APA formatted reference in the show notes. APA is one way traditionally in academia where we show where our resources for our content. So definition part 2b says the generation is the process of coming or bringing into being. The process of coming or bringing into being, right? So you need to generate ideas. They need to come or bring them into being. Part of that is it needs to be in you need to open up the space and the time and the ability for you to have the idea come to you, right? You pictured it in your mind. That's part of the definition we talked about, the idea. But now you've got to bring it into being. Okay, I had it in my head. Now how do I make that in my real life? So we have to have idea generation. I'm going to generate new ideas, and I'm going to also take the ideas I have and be able to take those and generate those where they come into being. And the last part is of idea generation location. The dictionary definition part that we focused on is the definition says a place or position. So what is idea generation location? It is a place or position where thoughts, opinions, beliefs, or imagination comes into being. Awesome, right? And what I'm arguing for you, and the whole purpose of the show is this: you have to take responsibility if you want to have control, potential control. We have other shows where we go into depth and try to talk about what options we have in terms of control of our lives in any way. But my argument is if we even potentially think that we might have an opportunity for influencing our day-to-day lives, then we have to know that we're responsible for our own idea generation. My argument is that if you have a location, a place, or a position that you go to where you specifically demarcate that for idea generation, it makes it more of a habit and easier for you to remain disciplined and focused. So instead of you just sort of saying, well, I'm going through life and, I'm going to wake up and then I have about 4 minutes where I go to the restroom and then I'm going to, brush my teeth, do my hygiene. And then I'm taking care of other people in my family. And then I'm on my way to my work. And then I'm working for about 10 hours. And then I'm right back commuting. And then I'm taking care of my family. And of course, taking a little bit of time to go to the restroom and to eat. And then I'm taking care of my responsibilities. And now I'm going right to sleep. And I haven't had a moment or a place or anything in that whole day where there's any time for, quote, me. And you have people who often will share this of all different life experiences, right? I'm just every single minute, second of my awake conscious time is already taken up. There's already things I have to do for other people. I'm working on my task. There's absolutely no time in there for me to sit around and be imagining and picturing things in my mind. Okay. That's a real challenge because it's going to limit your ability then to generate your ideas, and your ideas are the only thing that are going to be able to help you decide what you need to do, what you want to do, what you should do in life. You can't lead yourself if you don't know where you need to go. But the only way you're going to figure it out is if you can have the ability to invest in your own idea generation. I'm arguing you need an idea generation location because it makes it much easier than to get on a schedule to be self-disciplined because that's your place. Also, for people in your life or even other species, if pets and other non-human family members, people need to learn to understand that you're going to make a priority in your life that your idea generation is important, and that when you go to your place or position and you're doing your idea generation, that's unless it's an emergency, to let you have the idea generation location and then the time that you allocate to it. Now, depending on your resources and your life and everything, some people, and I love reading about very economically and or in terms of the reputation, renowned or successful people, right? A famous artist will say, well, I have my studio. So when I need to go do idea generation location, I have a studio that I've built specifically for idea generation location. It's a location. It's literally either a building or a part of a building that is my artistic studio or my writing room or my sculpting studio. It's my place where I do my choreography studio. It's a studio. It's an artist's space, and it's defined because that's my idea generation location. I go there to do that thing, and which is basically be in my head and create ideas. In business, often what you'll see, especially more mature businesses is you'll see that the more senior executive or leader will have literally a larger physical space. So the senior leaders of an organization will have huge offices, often with a lot of privacy afforded to them. And the idea is that they're in that large physical space because they are creating these ideas, and they'll close the door when they need the privacy and the quiet to allow them to go to their own head. You have to have the ability to generate ideas. And again, you need to be able to focus as much as you can. There's a lot of resources out there about the importance of your ability to prioritize and dedicate yourself to your own goals. So some things we'll talk about, you need 10,000 hours of practice, or some people will talk about what you need to do to be committed to excellence. And but the whole idea is that you have to commit to it. And my point is you need to have a place where you go generate ideas. Now, like I said, if you have the resources where you have your studio, or you have your some people have buildings or multiple buildings, that's where they go generate their ideas. And if you were to walk past them, you might look and think, well, that doesn't look like they're doing anything. Well, yeah, they're thinking. Some people think while they walk around, some people think while they sit, some people think while they lay down, some people think while they jog, some people think while they stand on their head, but they're thinking. In your head, it's a vibrant place. But you need to be able to have you know, enough, I was going to say solitude, but not everybody needs solitude. But you need to have the ability to control the environment, your noise and the other intrusion, so that you can get to a place where your thoughts are open up, where you can hear them and observe them. And again, these are imaginary things in your mind. So you got to be able to receive it. That's why often you want to get rid of the maybe noise clutter, or things of that nature. But whatever it is you need, some people have those resources. Some people go to the laboratory, right? So many people in sciences say, well, yeah, my place isn't, I don't call it my studio, I call it my lab, my laboratory. And I'm going to go down there and I'm going to go with my ideas and I'm going to be tinkering and coming up with new ideas and a new hypothesis. And that's what I'm doing. I don't care if you call it a studio, you call it your laboratory, whatever you call it, that's your place where you listen to yourself and you open up the ability to go in there and figure out of the thousands and thousands of thoughts you have a day, what's going on. And you're listening, and you're also at some point trying to think through questions and concerns you have about your life. And my argument again is you need a location. So if you have the resources and you already have your studio or your laboratory or your your office or your quiet room or whatever, then that's great. You've already met a lot of the points of this program, and would probably need to take part in some of our other programs about how to maximize that space, right? What do you do when you're there? The process. That's a different part. It's a different show. For those of you who are thinking, hey, are you silly? I don't have the space, the time, or the money to have an artist studio or an artist colony. I don't have a writing area. I don't have a building. I don't have a big grand office with privacy. What? Okay. It does not matter where your idea generation location is. Honestly, it may be in the restroom. And for a lot of people, it actually is, because that may be a place where there's some modicum of privacy that people automatically respect. Oh, they're in the restroom. They're using the restroom. Oh, okay. Well, boom, that's easy. So maybe somebody will say, look, I don't have a big grand, laboratory or office with privacy, but I can go in a restroom in many cultures, not in all. But in many, especially for adults, I'm not talking about a young child, maybe in a family or situation where there's never is any privacy, due to the logistics and the amount of people. But hopefully, as an adult, there's some ability to use the restroom facilities in privacy. That may be your only place, and that may have to be your idea generation location. It may be the restroom, or the WC, or the toilet. I don't care what you call it. It may be that the ideas come to you in the shower or in the bath. You hear a lot of people say that. I was using the restroom, I was taking a shower, I was washing my face, boom, my idea came. Often because that's your only quiet place. Where when you're not bombarded with all these external messages, right? Media, other people, sound, noise, etc., then you hear your own thoughts more prominently. And that is where you're going to get the ability, by hearing them and listening, paying attention to what's going on, pictures in your mind. Now you can go ahead and access those, and hopefully at some point begin to work with those ideas to begin to craft solutions and frameworks and ways to make sure your life is what you want in terms of meeting and surpassing your goals. But you got to be able to hear it. And so if your only idea generation location is your restroom, then that's perfect. And it's no better or no worse than somebody's laboratory or studio or anything else. You can go read all you want to about people who were given laboratories and studios and workrooms and resources and still didn't come up with ideas. And the frustration it gives people. And they say, well, look, we gave you all of this. Whether we purchased your artwork or we, hired you to be in our laboratory, and then you didn't even come up with anything creative, that anything creative that we felt was worthwhile. So having some grand space doesn't necessarily correlate with any different outcomes in terms of the idea quality, because the ideas come from you. You just need a space. That's all. So if you're saying to me, hey, okay, I get it, I do have a little bit of time when I'm brushing my teeth or bathing, I got a little bit of time in privacy where I can hear my ideas, then that's your idea generation location. And all I'm saying is, while you're in there doing whatever you have to do already, you need to add in whatever time you can. I don't care if it's 90 seconds or 20 minutes or whatever you can, and that's idea generation location. And now you've also started to prioritize the extra thing you're going to do. So maybe, hey, I'm in the restroom facilities, I've got a piece of paper or a tablet or whatever, and I'm going to jot down 2 ideas for the day. Boom, done. Awesome. And as your ideas begin to manifest themselves in your life, where you have more economic opportunities, you have more freedom, you have more autonomy to control your time and resources, you're going to probably just naturally gravitate to enlarging the amount of time you can spend in your idea generation location. You may stick with the same restroom, shower, bathtub process. Many people do. You can read about all types of really, externally noted successful leaders, politicians, artists who had all the resources, that you can imagine economically, and still said, oh, I go to my bath, or I do my walk around my neighborhood. That's where my ideas come from. Okay, great. So you're not going to necessarily have to change it. All you're going to be able to do is allocate more time to it, which is, you need, of course, the place, the idea generation location, and then, of course, the more time you can put into generation of ideas, and obviously it makes sense. Like anything else, you're going to be able to have more choices of ideas, right? And so if you're one of those people who says, well, I don't, who cares, right? Like I'm me, and I'm not a big executive. I'm not an artist. I'm just me. And I'm nothing particularly special. First of all, of course, I vehemently disagree with that. I mean, we're all as special or mundane as we think we are. And the other thing is, why not you? You're alive. You have ideas. I haven't seen science yet that tells us we have some dramatically different ideas based on any difference within us as humans. So you've got tens of thousands of ideas each day, and I do too. So why not you? And it's a different show, obviously, but some people honestly tell me they're frightened of their own ideas. They're frightened the ideas will be so exciting or interesting that they'll want to change. And I will say, well, you don't have to do anything. But if you open up your mind to what's possible, it might be really rewarding. And maybe the only way you'll express your ideas is you'll start a diary or a journal, just for your own enjoyment, just for your own private reading. It might be it manifests itself in different volunteer work or being of service. It might be that it relates to some sort of um, profit business. It might be that it relates to how do you work with people that you are in your family or in your household. I don't care how it's your choice, because you're chasing your own joy. And you have the right to define that in whatever way works for you. But you also, I think, hurt and deny yourself one of the most fascinating parts of being alive and being a human, which is that journey into your own mind. And I think I'm often surprised at on one hand, I'm surprised at the stupidity and the just, wow, really? That's not a really good idea. I think there's a lot of, junky kind of garbage ideas I come up with. Some would probably happily say that every idea I have is garbage. Some people would say, some of your ideas are good, or I think your ideas about, this issue or that issue are good, and your other ideas are horrible. And then some people, hopefully people who care about me and are close to me, would say, well, I think most of your ideas, or all of them, are awesome, right? That's what they're supposed to say. But I have to be my own policeman to a certain extent. I've got to go through and I come up with the ideas. That's what we're talking about here, idea generation location. But in other programs, we delve into, okay, now you have all the ideas. How do you sort through those and try to begin to discern which ones are actionable, which ones should be prioritized, which ones might be garbage or junk. What do you do with them? How do you hold on to some sort of catalog so that you can go back in the future and look through old ideas? Those are all different questions. But the first part is you have to get the idea. And so this show was about where. Where are you going to dedicate a space that you have said, hey, I understand it's important, I would argue, of prominent importance in our lives, to have ideas. I need to be able to generate those ideas. I need a place that even if I've only told myself and my secret thoughts in my head, you don't have to go announce to people, hey, when I'm in there and the shower's going, that's my idea generation location. So don't ever come in there unless, the place is burning down because I'm generating ideas. You don't tell people, because some people, you may be in a life situation where you tell them and they'd laugh at you and they'd say, that's stupider than I thought. You're so stupid. Well, then you don't need to tell those people. It's none of their business. If you're in an environment where there are people that you can trust, that they care about you, then, and you're happy and they're happy when you're happy, then you tell those people. But you don't have to share this with anybody. You just dedicate it in your own mind and then go start doing it. And you'll be surprised. It's all, again, about getting it into a habit. It's a habit. And if it's a location that you already use, then it's great. It may be that it's when you're, washing dishes or clothes. It could be when you're a guy walking, out and just walking around your neighborhood. I don't care. Again, you decide the location, but you must, in your own mind at least, tell yourself, commit to yourself, this is my idea, generation, location. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to stick to a schedule. And I'm going to generate ideas. And then we're going to open up the door with those ideas to see where that can lead us. But it starts and ends with the ideas. It does. And you owe it to yourself. Why not you? It doesn't cost any money. We're going to try to fit it into your schedule now, so it's not going to cost much time. But I think by you doing this and trying it, if you haven't done this at all, and stick to, give it a while, give it a couple of weeks. Some people say 30 days is the test. I don't have a hard and fast rule, but give it at least a month of sticking to your idea generation location plan and see how many ideas you've come up with at the end of that time. And I think you'll be really surprised. Really surprised. Because again, we're trying to fight against some of these, I believe, somewhat ridiculous assertions people make. Some people will say to me, well, I'm not creative. Well, that's silly. Of course you are. Everybody is. In different ways, at different levels. So go in there to your idea generation location, if you haven't been doing it, and start generating ideas. And obviously you need to have some sort of method to keep track of them. Okay? Try it for a month. And then come take part in some of our other programs where we talk about what do you do with those, how to prioritize them, trying to work through what you need to do to surpass your goals. But it starts and ends with you. This is your life. You know more about you than anybody else that's ever existed and that ever will, because you are you. So we're going to get our idea generation location. I want to make sure again that I encourage you to come to CourtneyAnderson.com. Of course, come to our show page. This is episode 149. I want to encourage you, please, if it's of help, if it's helpful, constructive, give us go to iTunes and leave your feedback, ratings, and also again visit our sponsors. Again, I'm surprised, happy that the show's gotten to 149 episodes. It's thanks to you. We're going through some changes as we upgrade a lot of the technology and make formalize a lot of the structure. I do encourage you to come to our show sponsor. The specific episode, when I was thinking, it's interesting because the way that we're doing it and going about this is we're individually identifying organizations that we feel are worthwhile or appropriate or credible for resources, and then inviting them to see what we're doing, and then they have to approve and see that they think what we're doing meets what they do. So it's actually really elaborate, and we're doing programs on how to do this for people who want to set up their own podcasts, blogs, web businesses, things of that nature. But it's not something that is, I would call, easy or fast. But we have so many programs, right? If it was easy, everybody would do it. But the show sponsor, when I was thinking about this show, what would be a great primary show sponsor? And we're talking about idea generation location. And then I thought, you know what? Vacation, travel. Even if it's not vacation, it's work. Travel. One of the things that opens your mind, it's a quick way to do it, sort of a shortcut, is to get out in a new place. So we picked Last Minute Travel as our show sponsor, lastminutetravel.com. But please come to the link that's in the show page on the CourtneyAnderson.com so that we can show our sponsor that your interest came from our show and our site. So Last Minute Travel is what it sounds like. Travel. And again, if you have the resources, meaning the time, usually it's time first and money second. Um, Go see the planet. I've been a lot of places, but there are a lot of places I haven't even gone anywhere near that I sure hope I live and get to see as much of this beautiful this planet. And then if there's the opportunity, I'd like to see what else is out there beyond this planet if I'm able. But get out, and if you don't have the ability to go anywhere in your mind that's super far, just go to a new part of wherever you live. Walk around somewhere different. Drive down a different street. Take a new bus. You'd be amazed. But if you are able, time and resources, or just you want to go daydream, go look at Last Minute Travel, which again is the primary show sponsor for this show. Go to the link through our show so that we're recognized for that and it's part of our business model. And get out there. Again, it's a shortcut to open up new ideas. It's amazing how much you learn about how ignorant you are and you get out of your own little corner of the world. So, again, thank you so much for being here. I am going to do everything to hope and support you in at least doing a month of your idea generation location and commit to yourself. Commit to this. This is a program of you taking responsibility, creating the ideas, and then in other ways you're going to implement them. And I think you're going to be amazed at what you're capable of. So dedicate yourself to learning about yourself and pick your ideal generation location. If you can't share it with anybody else and you just have to share it, of course, at CourtneyAnderson.com, send us an email. Tell us where it is. We want to know, and we support you. I support you. This life is such an amazing opportunity, and for you to invest the time to join me in the program today, and to explore different ways to ensure that you're surpassing your own goals is something to be applauded and complimented and recognized. So congratulations, and get out there, get those ideas generated, get that location, and let's see where it takes you. Thank you so much.